All right, I have it as 11 o'clock. And if you see one person just joined in right at 11 o'clock. So this is CIST 2412, and this is the week 4 WebEx session. And that we'll do on that. So let me mark down this attendance really quick. And the recording is underway. So this is being recorded. First thing, in chapter 5 with the storage pools, if your disk got turned into dynamic in Windows, not dynamic in VirtualBox. I told you to do them as dynamic in VirtualBox, and that works fine. You just don't want them in dynamic format in Windows. If they are showing as dynamic when you look at them in Disk Manager, if when you go to storage spaces and you look at your pool possibility of the machines in the storage spaces screen and where it should be showing you the actual hard drives, that if it does not show you any there, then odds are they got made that they turned into dynamic as far as server Windows is concerned. What you will need to do is right click them there in that same screen, right click the disk, and just choose to change it to basic. I think it is, but you're taking it away from dynamic, and so you're going to switch it back from dynamic, which will work. I did it last night on my machine. I went in, created it, made it into dynamic. If it's not dynamic, you can actually choose to make it dynamic, but you can also do the reversal. Now, the one thing you may run into is the drive that does have the operating system on, which hopefully there's still some unallocated space on it. If there's not, it wouldn't have worked for you for this anyway, because you can only do storage space pools in with unallocated spaces. But if it did have, it may not let you change it from dynamic to basic, but I think it will. Now, we'll probably say online after you change it to basic, but you can go from dynamic back and forth, except for it appeared that it may give a problem if the operating system is on there. Although it let me go ahead and do it, and then the machine still booted okay. So I think you'll be okay on that anyway. But if you do run into that, and I've added notes on that in both the assignment and Blackboard. One person did write me about an issue with that. So just be aware of that one. All right. This week you're working on chapters 6 and 7. This is going to be an easier week for you. They're going through and showing you how to work with virtual machines, that you're doing virtualization. You've already done that. Y'all set up a number of machines in your VirtualBox. So you've got a number of virtual machines out there. You've learned how to work on the virtual machines already to a degree. They tell you more stuff on it here. They are coming from their demonstrations using Hyper-V. Again, Hyper-V is not out there now, but all of your virtualization programs all have similarities. So you need to study it anyway. Hyper-V server is still out there, so you can still set up Hyper-V machines, but you got to do them on bare metal, basically. The client's not there now. At least it's not available to us, so we can't use it. Okay. It used to be that Microsoft had it out there for us also, but it's not there. So in the 2 chapters, as a result, and the fact that it's doing Hyper-V and we're doing VirtualBox, that then you will we're not going to do any activities in the 2 chapters. So you're doing 2 chapters this week, which you have been doing for a couple of weeks now, until you get to the last 2 weeks, and then I'll let you go back to 1 chapter each. So basically, the month of July, you get to have 1 chapter a week. Because we had 14 chapters to cover in 16 weeks, so that's the easiest way to do it. Yeah, I could have sat there and split chapters up over weeks, but that confuses everything there. So there's no labs to do this week in chapters 6 and 7, but you do need to study it. Second thing is you got to take the test. I'm glad that helped on that where I just described on it, because I was going to describe in here also, because I did give y'all, I added in the notes in chapter 5. If that's not fully clear there, let me know on it and what's not clear, and then I'll try rewriting it a little bit more. But I did that yesterday evening when I put that in there. That actually I wrote the student back with the solution after I went in and tried it. I was in Northern Kentucky this weekend. I did not have the book with me. Yeah, I can get to the ebook online, but that's, to me, it's easier for me to flip in the book right there than going to the ebook. And the other part was, it was the weekend, which is my time off, and I had ridden 4 hours up there in Northern Kentucky where I gave a new Kiwanis chapter their charter, and they were having their big celebration charter night for that, where they got their charter and their members all got recognized for being charter members. And as governor, I was there for that. That ate most of Saturday. The drive up there was 4 hours. Did have an hour or hour and a half when we got there. I rode with another friend, former governor. And I did answer a couple of emails during that time period, but in actuality, I was watching the women's softball World Series a good little bit then, and then our meeting that night and stuff, and a real nice dinner. It was real tasty. Oddly enough, the name of the restaurant there is Our Best Food, and it was good. I was pleased to see that. I had been up there in late January, 1st of February, I think it's 1st of February, when they had the organization meeting, drove up there on a Saturday and drove back. But this time the event was at 5:30 Saturday night, so we got a motel room up there. And so we went to that, and it was about 30 minutes away, so we had to leave 5 o'clock. We got at 5:30, and then we were there, didn't get back to the motel probably 10 o'clock or so. Because we had several other things to do while we were there. We had to meet with some other people and do some politicking. Because we're helping somebody get elected international president, who was there. Who's a friend of ours. So then Sunday, got up and we drove back, and I got in by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a little bit before that. And by the time I unpacked the car and stuff, it was 3. I took a little bit of nap because I was a little bit tired still. And then I worked on classes and worked on my pictures and stuff. And I took some more pictures while I was there. So I'm still needing to work more on that, but did answer email. I did answer that one particularly about chapter 5 on the storage space issue of disk non-appearing. And so when I answered it, I turned around, copied it into Blackboard and my notes, and then did a quick little edit on it as I copied it in, because the way I had it written to that student was referring a little bit differently than the way it needed to be, where it was written as just a note in there. So I edited that and posted it, put it in the announcements. Also, that there was a change in there. So do be aware of that. So these 2 chapters should be fairly simple for y'all. Again, most of it, you've already encountered a lot of it with what you've done in VirtualBox, and that you're you've already been doing that type stuff. Just realize it's written from the Hyper-V direction. Realize when you take the test, it will be written in the same direction. It's written off of what they wrote in the book. That your experience is with Hyper-V. But a lot of the difference between Hyper-V and VirtualBox is sort of like driving a Chevrolet versus a Ford. There's some some of the controls there for us as we're driving are slightly different in spots, like in my Saturn. And when I get in my pickup truck, 86 pickup truck instead, the turn signal indicators on a different side of the steering wheel, where the cruise control is slightly different. Turning the lights on and off is slightly different on both of them. On the truck, it's down there actually on the dashboard with the pull button. On the Saturn, it's off the steering wheel. That there's a lever there that I turn that stuff on with. So, but it's still basically the same. And if I can drive one, I can drive the other. Basically the same thing for you, that if you can do the stuff in VirtualBox, you would be able to handle Hyper-V fine, and you should be able to see the differences on the stuff. All right, questions for me on all of that. So there's not a whole lot for me to go over in terms of chapter 6 and chapter 7 for you. Well, as I say, number one, you have no assignments to do in there. Number two, it is doing things you already have been doing. So they're taking you through and showing you it again from the viewpoint. They're trying to show overall on terms of virtual machines and stuff, but they are using specifically in terms of Hyper-V as their specific examples, but they're teaching you virtualization in the 2 chapters. So that's what you'll be doing in there. Next week, we will be on Monday again, like we're supposed to be, but the following week, that starts with the 19th. The 19th is a holiday. It's Juneteenth. So our sessions will again, like they were last week, be delayed a day, and that they'll be on Tuesday morning on the 20th. Likewise, that week, not the stuff that's being assigned this week. What's been assigned today that goes through next week. So that's for this class, just the 2 tests to take. That this week's ones on 6 and 7 are due on next Monday. The following week, that will be on just chapter 8. Correction, I told you wrong about chapters. That we'll do chapter 8 that week. Actually, except for the last week, that you'll just be doing 1 chapter a week from here on through. And 2453, they're doing 2 a week. But we only have 12 chapters in this class. Chapter 8, which will become available next Monday, will be due the following Tuesday because of Monday being a holiday again. Any other questions for me? On anything? It looks like there's nobody else in here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So those of you that are listening on the recording, have a good day and have a good week. And then we'll do this next session next Monday morning at 11 o'clock.